Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show, and it's time for another episode of the latest Leeds. To be honest, it is concerning some potential outgoings. Hopefully, neither will leave. Let's have a chat about it anyway. But before we get into the video, as is always the case, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course, hit that notification bell. But let's talk about two wingers that are massively in demand. There is legs to the Dan James to Spurs story. I have it on very good authority, and we'll get into that in just a sec. And we know that Newcastle are serious about Jack Harrison. They have put in a second bid. Like the video, and let's get going for it.
I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck. I believe I'm self-made, yeah. There we go. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Yeah, I am early, Dennis. I am. I just wanted to... Basically, I had to just, schedule it. I was going to come live as soon as... Because I'm going to be live later on for the Man United versus Liverpool game. Hopefully, Man United take a bit of a spanking. Of course, I'll be live. You know, I do watch-alongs with other teams on this channel, so I'll be live at 7:45 for that game as well. But I seen some news. I was going to do a video earlier on today, and then I took the kids swimming and just been mad busy. And then I thought, no, I'll do tomorrow. And then we hear about the Dan James to Spurs stuff. And, I spoke to someone about it, and there's legs to it. There is legs to it. It isn't just a flash in the pan. So we'll wait and see, and we'll discuss what I know, what I've heard up to this point. We know about the Jack Harrison stuff. Anyway, we know. I mean, that's been reported by David Ornstein. That guy's ITK. Do you know what I mean? And Newcastle have actually had a second bid. It wasn't till yesterday evening or this morning that we heard about this second bid. It has been rejected. Rightly so. Their first bid was around about 20 million. They've then gone back in with a second bid. I am concerned about Newcastle because we know they've got money. And obviously Eddie Howe is really keen on Jack Harrison, and his performances this season will have only strengthened his resolve in trying to sign him. Now, if you remember, I did a video way back when about Jack Harrison and how much would the club accept? How much would you accept? Would it be 30 to 35? We were having a conversation. I'm now at the stage where I'm like, nah, the guy cannot go at all. In the first 2 game weeks of the Premier League, he created the most chances in the Premier League. There's only him and De Bruyne that have managed 11 creating actions in the first 2 games since the Premier League. So that's huge. And, he's way up there. Obviously, he scored and got another assist on Sunday as we battered Chelsea. So for me now, like Jack Harrison and Rodrigo are the stars in this side. Like Calvin and Rafinha have gone. Jack Harrison now for me is the main man. Him and Rodrigo are definitely up there. Obviously, there is still time for Aronson, Tyler Adams, etc. But for me now, Jack Harrison is the star within this side. And it's quite interesting as well. Like we were having the conversation previously about Jack Harrison and what it would take. And a lot of fans, and myself included, sort of toyed with the idea, okay, yeah, if we can reinvest it and get a Cody Gakpo and other names that were mentioned. But now, he cannot be allowed to leave. Not a chance. He cannot go anywhere for me, Jack Harrison. He has to stay put at Leeds United. And what it does do as well, like, we know we're a bit of a selling club. I know people don't want to hear it, but we are in that phase as a club. Obviously, if the season continues like this, I mean, I can't lie to you. Top half finish is looking sweet as a nut, sweet like Tropicana. And that means, Leeds United can attract bigger names, etc. We know that to be the fact, but, we know as well Leeds United do have to sell. And you could argue as well with Jack Harrison, if he continues in this vein, if Newcastle and other clubs still are interested, then you could command a bigger fee next year. I don't want to sell Jack, but sometimes we have to sit back and be realistic about where the club is. None of us wanted to sell Calvin. None of us wanted to sell Rafinha. But it has to come a time where these sort of stuff need to be looked at. But you could argue if Jack Harrison continues like this, then there's no way that he goes for 25-30 million that we originally would have probably considered, like as a fan base anyway. But he started the season like a house on fire. And I'll say it now, there's a chance he gets in that England setup. There's a chance he gets in that England setup. Or at least gets looked at for me. There's a chance he gets looked at. We've got one international break between now and the World Cup, so maybe it's a little bit too late for him. But, you know, Tim Mason says we don't need the money. I don't agree with that. I think, I'm not saying I want to sell Jack, but what I'm saying is the general noises seem to be at the football club, or what we're hearing, is that Leeds United need to sell in order to buy. Obviously, Radrazani and the 49ers sort of bankrolled Leeds. We made no sales in the first 2 seasons in the Premier League. Obviously, now going into our 3rd season, we've had to sell in order to buy. We know about the net spend. Leeds are actually, you know, they've spent less than they've brought in as Leeds United, so they're in the green in that department. But you know, if we do need a striker, and I still think we do. I'm not as, like, you know, banging on the drum as I once was. I still think we need another striker, let's be honest, and we could do with a left back. And I'm seeing on the grapevine that Nottingham Forest are looking at Reguilon. I think that's someone we should probably be in for, especially with a loan, maybe with a view to a permanent deal. And you know, we know what Forest are doing. So if Leeds United do need to, you know, do sell in order to buy, then we need to have that conversation. But Jack Harrison can't be that man. He literally cannot be that man. Now, as I said, David Ornstein, Tier 1 journalist at the top of the tree, he said this morning that Leeds rejected the second Newcastle bid for Jack Harrison. Obviously, he produced another amazing performance against Chelsea, contributed a goal and an assist to maintain Leeds United's unbeaten start to the season. All this interest for Jack Harrison came even before the season started. Yeah. So the fact that he started like a house on fire, the fees that were being banded about, you can add another 10, 15, 20 million on top of it. I mean it, you know, and we know Newcastle are big on him. We know Eddie Howe's big on him. And they initially made a bid worth up to 20 million, and that was rejected. Get in the bin, you're not having it. And Leeds and Radrazani, he said it in his interview, and you know, it's been reported by David Ornstein as well, that Leeds have made it clear they have no intention of selling Jack Harrison. Yeah. But the big thing about this is that's not Newcastle. You know, that's not Newcastle, because they've come with a second bid. So even though Radrazani said, and he said it in the interview, yeah, they said it in the interview that he doesn't want to sell, they've still come back with the second bid. So Newcastle believe that there is an opportunity there. For me, I'd be signing Jack Harrison on a new deal. Let's not get into a situation that we had with Calvin, that we had with Rafinha, where we have to sell at a cut down price. Let's get him on a new deal for me. But the thing as well, like, we know that conversations with players go on under the radar. Who can forget when Jack Harrison was asked about him being a Leeds United player, went out in Australia, he said, we'll wait and see. His people will have had conversations with the powers that be at Newcastle. These things go on. We know that, right? We do know that. So maybe that's why Newcastle's interest hasn't diminished, because he said, yeah, man, I would be open to a move. And maybe that's why they've come for a second bid. I'm not saying that Jack Harrison's trying to force through a move, wants to leave Leeds United, but he's probably saying, yeah, like, I'd have a conversation with you. Yeah, definitely. If Leeds United accepted the bid, of course. So they made a second proposal, which again was rejected by Leeds United, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to come back in. I believe Joao Pedro is going to Newcastle. That's just been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, another top tier number one journalist. Will that scupper any moves for Jack Harrison? But he plays centre forward, you know what I mean? His main position's a centre forward. They need someone to help shoulder the burn with Callum Wilson. I think, he he picked up a knock. Ricky Raw says, loving the green curtain. Yeah, mate, the reason, that's a green screen, brother. It's a green screen. The reason I've got it, mate, is because if you watch this, I'll show with you. I have to do this a lot, but I'll show you. When I actually put the background on, the shirt disappears because of the colour of it. And I've got the shirt off, and I was on the quick, so I couldn't be asked to get changed. Because I've just dropped my kids off at the mum's and just walked back through the door. So I just wanted to jump live straight off the bat. So, yeah, Jack Harrison. João Pedro can play off the left, but predominantly as a centre forward. Alan St. Maximin was unbelievable yesterday for Newcastle. Almiron scored as well, so he's already improved on last season, but they do need depth in them areas, and that's why they're probably looking at Jack Harrison. They probably look at Jack Harrison because obviously we know previously they were interested in the guy from the Derby from Leverkusen, but they wanted like 60 million. Yeah. They wanted like 60 million. Now, Jack Harrison, they probably look at it and say, right, he's done it in the Premier League, can do it in the Premier League. He's not going to cost us 60 million. That could change now for me. Yeah. That could change now for me. Leeds United, if they were even willing to sit down and have a conversation with Newcastle based on Jack's start, they're probably saying, we want 50 million as a starting point. I don't know. I don't know. But for me, Jack Harrison should not be sold. Categorically should not be sold. What's clear is, though, I mean, Leeds United, again, you have to take your hats off to Victor Orta and co. We paid 11 million, 12 million for Jack Harrison. Obviously, we had him on loan when we did. And then we had to sort of like move it on a year, you know, and we eventually made the deal permanent for about 11.5, 12 million, 11 million, around about that. But obviously, that Leeds United are going to make a markup, right? Leeds United are going to make a markup on him. So that's class to see, if indeed they do want to sell. But I agree with Allison. We don't sell Jack Harrison. We cannot sell Jack Harrison. We must not sell Jack Harrison. He started like a house on fire this season. You take him out of the side. I mean, like I said, him and Rodrigo are the main boyos, which I thought I'd say, but they combined for 4 of our 7 goals this season. They've been absolutely on fire. And Jack Harrison, for me, should not go anywhere. Like, if you look at his numbers so far this season in terms of comparatively in the Premier League, you know, Anthony Gordon. Well, Chelsea want Anthony Gordon and they're going to pay 50-odd million for the guy. So, you know what I mean? If they want to have a conversation about Jack Harrison, English touch, etc., then best believe they need to put up the money, because, like I say, this season, 3 starts, one goal, 3 assists. Do you know what I mean? He started like a house on fire. But for me, like I say, we cannot. I agree. He cannot go anywhere, right? I mean, come on now, mate. Were you not watching yesterday? And you don't know your history of Kuna Matata because you've never beaten us twice on the trot at Ellen Road. If you'd have known that, maybe you'd have realised you were going to be beat tomorrow. Yesterday, sorry. Yeah, I am doing a watch along for that game, Taffy. I will be live at 7:45. Yeah, I will be live at 7:45. So make sure you join me for that. Big up to the Chelsea trolls coming and giving me views. Anyway, it's all good, baby. It's all good. So yeah, Jack Harrison wanted by Newcastle, second bid coming, rejected. I do think they might have another go, but we can't do it. Now let's talk about Dan James. You know me. I ain't his biggest fan. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I am. He does give us something, but Spurs are after him. Shock, big shock. I can't lie. When I first read this, I was like, Alan Nixon, to be fair, normally gets stuff bang on, but then I was like, no, surely not. So I reached out to someone who's a Spurs fan, and he actually had this conversation with someone a couple of days ago to say that Spurs were interested in him. Now, by all accounts, Spurs want to loan out Brian Hill. They want to loan out Brian Hill, yeah? They want to loan him out. They then need cover for him, right? They then need cover for Brian Hill. Not only that the way I look at Conte, he could even argue that he might play Dan James in a right wing back position, potentially. I know they've brought Jed Spence, but Jed Spence, he's not really had a sniff. I don't think he's been in the matchday squad, and he's not Conte's signing. He's not Conte's signing. He's come out and said as much. He was signed by the club. And I think, there's probably a lot of disrespect coming from Spurs fans for him, and I sort of understand it. But what you've got to remember with Spurs is as well, they're now in the Champions League. They're willing to loan out Bryan Hill. Maybe they're going to have to flesh out that squad. And with them fighting on all fronts, they will need options there. If they don't believe Bryan Hill is ready, remember he was signed before Conte come in as well. Conte likes his own people. Conte looked at Jack Harrison for that left wing back role as well. So he clearly likes Leeds United boys, Leeds United players. But if Leeds United do need to sell, as we've been told, or as we've heard on the grapevine from Tier 1 journalists, even though they get mocked, they always get it right, 95% of the time. Let me just come in with this super chat here. Any new signing to replace James should be required to wrestle Tyler Adams to prove their mettle, John Sitton style. Yeah, Tyler Adams is the boy. A lot of people eating humble pie right now. I've had to eat it with Jesse and Rodrigo, though. It is what it is. But yeah, by all accounts, I have it on pretty good info that basically Conte is a big fan. I'm reading here. Conte is a big fan. I can't share who from, but apparently Conte is a big fan. When I first asked this person the question, they did say, "Look, I spoke about this with someone the other day. Bryan Hill is." Let me just find it. Yeah, Bryan Hill. I don't know if Bryan Hill's permanent, or maybe Spurs look at Dan James with a loan with a view to a permanent. Maybe the club were aware. They were talking about dominoes waiting to fall. You've got to ask yourself the question, if everyone's fit at Leeds United, does Dan James start? And I'm leaving a little bit of a pause though. I don't know why, because you're not going to respond to me. I don't know why I did that. My apologies. But does Dan James start? The answer's no. Yeah. The answer's no. It's true. The answer's no. From Dan James, will we get anywhere close to the output that we got from Harrison? I don't ever see him hitting them heights. I don't. We've got, I think as well, we do have, Jordan, I am not going to give you that information. Let me have a look. I think there's a Tottenham fan in the house, so I just want to address this. Right, okay. So he says, Doherty, Emerson, Spence, and Moura play right wing back for Spurs. James will be covered for the front line. And that's totally fine. Obviously, he knows a lot more than me, and that's totally fine. And he may be covered for the front line because all they've got at the moment, right, is Richarlison and Bryan Hill, and they're not using him. Yeah? By all accounts, Bryan Hill may be going. I don't know if that's a permanent or a loan. Maybe they look at Dan James as an option to bring in, and Conte is a big fan of him by all accounts. Now, I'm just looking at Dan James's numbers. Obviously, if we go back to 21-22, where he played 32 times, he got 4 goals and 4 assists. It's not a great output. He's got 1 assist this season. It came against Chelsea. I think there is a conversation to be had. If Leeds United do need to sell in order to buy, and really, we do need a second option. We do need a striker. Yeah. Jimmy, I will be back live. Yeah, I will be back live at 7:15 if anyone wants to join me for that. 7:45, sorry. I do believe there's a conversation to be had about Dan James, if indeed Spurs want to do a deal. Yeah, we paid 25 million for him. Could we command that fee? I mean, I can't lie to you, right? If Spurs said we'll we'll give you 25 million, you make your money back, you're doing it. You're doing it. You're definitely doing it. You know, could you then go and get Ismaila Sarr? Could you? Would you need to replace Dan? I think you'd go out and go get a striker for me with that money. Dan James does give us a lot, like in terms of pressing and all that sort of stuff. We know, right? But you know, I'll share with you this here. Sarr is off to Villa. No, Sarr off to Villa I think it's done. I think it got. There's issues with the Sarr deal. There's issues with the Sarr deal. Fabrizio Romano tweeted about it. Let me find that. The Sarr deal might be off. I've seen something this morning. Let me find it for you. I know the João Pedro one went through, but there was issues with the Sarr deal. Let me just find that now. One sec. Yeah, so this was 16 hours ago. Important hours ahead for Sarr and João Pedro. Agreement on Twitter. I'll share it with you so you can see, obviously. I keep forgetting to do that, but it's a little bit more interactive, isn't it? So you can see what I can see. But important hours ahead for Sarr. Agreement on €28 million fee. Add-ons included for Sarr between Villa and Watford, but issues to resolve on the player side. So that's not been done. I swear I seen another update after that fact. Here, look. There are still things to resolve for Sarr between Villa and Watford. Negotiations in danger after progress made earlier today. Aston Villa and Watford do have full agreement, not completed yet on the player side. Villa have put... see here. Villa confirmed Traore has joined Istanbul Başakşehir. Issues on Sarr deal are not yet resolved. Deal is considered in serious danger since yesterday night. Could definitely collapse. See if there's any update on that since then. Here's the Brian Hill stuff here. Look, Valencia are set to complete the agreement with Tottenham for Brian Gill on loan until June 2023. No buy option clause discussed as of now. That could change, but that tells you then that they then need to go and replace him. That's the information I've been given, that Sarr's going, so therefore they want an option to replace him. Let's just have a look to see if there's any further updates on the Sarr stuff. It doesn't look like there has been in the last couple of hours. That's the João Pedro stuff. He's on his way to Newcastle. That's a done deal. Emerson going to West Ham. Yeah, so Sarr's still not done, okay? So could we potentially go there? Would you take Sarr over James? Yes, you would. If we look at this as well here, this is Dan James's stats. Now, obviously, from a defensive standpoint, look at this pressures off the chart. And everyone said that, right? Like, Dan James gives us so much from his pressing numbers, but it's his output, right? Like, this isn't great. This is not great, right? It's not great. Obviously, he carries the ball a lot with his pace and whatnot, etc. But look at his pass completion. It's not amazing. It's not amazing. So if Leeds United were to sell and were able to recoup a decent fee, if we look here, obviously, Dan James came to Leeds United for like 25 million, maybe with add-ons rising up to 26 there or thereabouts. Obviously, this isn't always bang on. His market value is currently around about this. I mean, would you take a hit on Dan James in order to go out and potentially get a striker? Maybes. Maybe you could. Some saying they would take 15 million. That's fair as well. Maybe I'm doing a disservice, Taffy, but I mean, last season we finished 17th, and yeah, he had 4 assists, so it's still not amazing, right? Like, Jack's already got 3 this season. So when Leeds United are going to do well, maybe, I don't know. I just look at it and say, right, okay, so we had this same conversation No, I hear that, Chronicles. Maybe I'm being harsh. Look, this is a forum for everyone to get involved. You're obviously angry that I'm saying, oh, he's played out of position, etc. But that for me still doesn't change his output, because if anything, he was in more dangerous positions because he was playing the striker role at times. So maybe he should have more goals in that position. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. But also, what about, does Dan James start for you? Does Dan James start for you? Does Dan James start for you? No, he doesn't, right? I think the majority of Leeds fans say that Dan James doesn't start, right? I'm not advocating like selling him. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. And we had this exact same conversation about Jack Harrison. It's worth having a conversation about it to see what the general consensus is. Obviously, we've brought in Luis Sinisterra. The more he gets up to speed, he starts. You've also got Rodrigo, who, when Bamford's fit, isn't going to start up top. He will start just off Bamford for me. So then he moves into that role, which then means Aronson moves out to the right. You've also got Joffrey to throw in the mix as well, who can also play behind Bamford and off him. You know, you've got Sinisterra, you've got Jack Harrison. So if you were to bring in decent money for James, you can then go and maybe even buy a replacement for James, or do you then go up and buy that striker that we need? Because Leeds United still need a striker, and I believe we will get one. My opinion is that we will get one, just based on what Jesse said in the press conference. Obviously, the club may have changed just based on their start, but we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that, in my opinion. Forgot about this man as well. Big shout out. Commodore Man mentioned Somerville as well. Leeds United have just put him on a new deal as well. So he's another option there. And, you know, Orta threw down the gauntlet to him, said that he wanted, you know, him to show us that, you know, he's ready for first team action. So he's going to be given minutes. Obviously, we'll be doing a watch along on Wednesday for the Barnsley game, where we can chat about that, because I believe Somerville, Greenwood, Gelhardt, maybe even Gray, I think a lot of these will start, so we can get a proper look at him. Now, there is a lot of like conversation about this, like, his great option off the bench. I hear that, but if you can get money for a bench option, which is what he would be if everyone was fit, then you can then use that money and get another option for another area of the squad, or maybe even make an improvement on him. I don't agree with this Peacock Rhino either. I don't agree with this because he scored in the first game where he was playing off Bamford. I think we can all argue that Bamford would be the main man. I'm not advocating dropping him. I'm saying you would move him off the striker, where I believe he's better. I do believe he's better. MH says you can't. Yeah, look, this isn't sell James and not replenish it. This is sell James if indeed Tottenham put in a bid and improve elsewhere, get a striker. If Leeds United do need to sell in order to buy, if we don't, and we can still go out and get a striker, then yeah, don't sell him. Don't sell him. So we'll wait and see. Pulisic is a winger. Yeah, go save Pulisic. Go save Pulisic. To be fair, you know, there's a lot being said. Like, Dan James is very hit and miss. So even if you were to make a loss of around about 5 million and you were able to recoup 20 million for Dan James, I still think it's a deal that can be done, because I agree with this great comment from Jimmy. Get 20-ish for James, leaves us with a decent striker as cover, yeah, and maybe a half decent left back. I don't think the club will do a left back, and I'm now of the opinion that I don't think we need to because Strout's been immense. Strout's been immense. What I will say as well, like what we have to remember as well as a club and how their minds work, it's all about maximizing your output in terms of when to sell, right? Do you think we'll ever be in a situation where Dan James will be bought for, say, 20 million again? What could you envisage that? Let's say, for example, right, the Leeds United have paid 25 million for Dan James. I'm just having a look, folks. There's 693 you in the chat, which is amazing. So big up to you all for being here. There's only 180 likes. If you could all like the video for me, that'd be greatly appreciated, genuinely. Also, guys, just while I'm on that, like I'm less than 50 people away now from 15K. We had some crazy interaction and numbers yesterday. Of course, we did loads of new subscribers. I'm now for 34 people off 15K. If there's 34 of you watching now that haven't subscribed, let's get 15K on this stream. That would be amazing, right? 228 likes now, over 700 people. That's more like it. So thank you for that. So back to Dan James here. We paid 25 million for him. We can all sit here and say we did overpay for him and it was bad business, right? Mental Yorkie says Dan James has plenty of years left. Why would he go for cheaper? I hate to break it to you, Mental Yorkie. Leeds United will never recoup 25 million or more for Dan James. They won't. There's not a scenario where Leeds United, based on what I've seen of James, and I could end up being wrong, ever recuperate more than 25 million. No, we won't. I'm just seeing some comments coming in that I want to speak about, so I'll just highlight them. We won't ever recuperate 25 plus for James. I don't see it. Yeah. But right, as the way that our model works, you have to sell at the right time. Yeah. You have to sell at the right time. So for me, the club will weigh this up. Do they ever envisage a situation where Dan James will be wanted and be able to command a decent fee again? And everyone keeps telling me he's a great bench option. And I hear that, right? But he's a bench option that could go for like 20 million. Will Leeds United ever be in a scenario where they have an offer on the table for someone of Dan James who's a bench option? Because if you're all right, and if we're right, if we're right and say Dan James doesn't start, next summer, you can't sell him for what we could potentially sell him for now. You can't, because he won't have played nowhere near enough games. He won't have hit nowhere near the numbers that he would. So that's something to think about. Yeah, that's something to think about. There's a lot of people that disagree and say he's not going anywhere. I can see the comments coming in. Jesse started him. Why did he start him, Josh? Why did he start him? He started him because Bamford's injured and Sinistera's not ready. That's why. Those that are saying James is first 11 when Sinistera's fit and up to speed is not. And Mental Yorkie, they're not. They're not excited about signing him, bro. Believe me, they're not. They're not. But clearly Conte likes him and sees him as an option. Yeah. I don't think Spurs fans are going wild on him. Listen, I'm okay. Like I'm just saying, you know. Dean says, Joe, you're waffling. If we sell James, we lose a player and not invest. I don't agree. Leeds United will, if we were to sell him, Dean, and not invest, I would be unhappy. Yes, would be unhappy. Dan James does have a great mentality. Does have a great mentality. I'm not saying that, but his output's not great for me. And I think if they came in with a decent bid, then I think the club. I mean, I would do that. I would do that. But this is my point. I'm not advocating selling him, but it's a conversation that we need to have. This is what I mean. People get it twisted when they see these and say, why are you trying to do this, do that? That's not. It's like, you come for my opinion. We're just having a chat about it, right? We're just having a chat about it because it's out there, and Tottenham are interested in him. Yeah. So it's something to have a conversation about. So if we were to yeah, but this is, yeah, Dan, I hear that, right? It's not at all right. Okay, just one sec. I'm just reading your comments. I want to answer ones that we can have a proper conversation about. Why would we sell James? We are building a squad. We need to add not one out. Yeah, okay. I agree. In an ideal scenario, Leeds United keep James, don't need money, and go out and buy a striker and a left back. But we know the club ain't in that situation because they want to sold Rafinha, they want to sold Calvin. They've had to sell in order to buy. So we have to be realistic. They're not just going to stockpile players for the sake of it. And if a bid came in for James, I think the club would definitely consider it. Because I know people say he started, he's just beat Chelsea, and I get that, and people get annoyed at me or whatever. But if everyone's fit, Dan James doesn't start for me. Right? He doesn't start for me. And therefore, if Tottenham came in with 20 million, guys, 20 million, I think the club would be silly not to accept that and then go buy a striker, because we have cover in them positions. Because you've got Sinistera, you've got Harrison, you've got Rodrigo, you've got Aronson, you've got Somerville. There are options there. You've got Joffrey who can play just off the striker, which means you could move Rodrigo to the right or Aronson and stuff like that. There's a lot of moving parts. It can be very fluid up there. So if you were to then go get a second striker, use that money to do that. Villa Martin, I don't know if he's an Aston Villa fan, and maybe that's why he's making that comment where he says your comment on output is flawed. Stats on last season when he was played out of position, he got 4 assists. Any Leeds fan, genuinely, okay, you might be his biggest fan, but let's not pretend he's got great output. I could understand you as a Villa fan not watching him week in, week out, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Dan James has got great output, because I'd be lying to you. When Dan James is one-on-one, I have zero confidence, and that's just facts. When he crossed that ball for that Harrison goal, I didn't believe he was going to make the cross. And I'm not going to lie to you. I like Dan James. I do like Dan James. But his finishing and his final ball is not the one. So I don't think it is flawed. But again, football is about opinions. Let's have a look. Let's see what more people are saying. Yeah, Max, yeah. And I think 20 million's high money for James. I think 20 million is good money for James. The great comment, mate. Kevin, where's the news come from? It's out there from Alan Nixon, who gets quite a lot right. I've asked the Spurs fan as well, who actually had the conversation prior to this news coming out. Like I've seen the receipts. This isn't just jump. This conversation went on even before this news hit. Apparently, Conte is very keen. They want a replacement for Brian Gill because Brian Gill's going out on loan, and they see Dan James as that replacement. I mean, that for me, yes. For me, yes, Sax Glenn. For me, yes, all day. But Dean, it don't work like that, does it? Just because this is when people go, why do you want that player when they're selling him? He's clearly not good enough. That's not how football works. You know what I mean? That's like saying everyone in top four sides are good. They're not, bro. They're not. There was once upon a time when Manchester United finished second in the league with Mick Fred in midfield. Let's not say, oh yeah, they're top two. They must be great. You know what I mean? Villa Martin is suspended. Andy, yes, yeah, all day. That's what I mean. All day, bro, all day. And that's, of course. And I hope I'm wrong. Look, we had a conversation about Jack Harrison, and 95% of the fan base said, yeah, I'd have that conversation. Now you wouldn't. And that's why when you change, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's fine. I'm not talking about your spot. I assumed because it said Villa that you were a Villa fan. But if you're saying my output is flawed, then I disagree with you. I disagree with you, bro, because you can't say that you can't say that his output isn't flawed. I don't think anyway. Do you think? Am I wrong here? I don't think I'm wrong. There you go. See, I don't know my geography. My apologies. But it's not personal, Villa Martin. I just assumed you were a Villa fan. I don't think his output is great. I watch a lot of him, like all of us do, and I don't think his output is great. Jim Housen says guilt of Valencia is near confirmed. Yeah. Thoughts on a Vardy Pulisic loan? Vardy wouldn't happen. Obviously, he's at Leicester and just signed a new deal. As for Pulisic, yeah, I would take him. Why not reunite him with his American brethren and go from there? Notarius Nemo says, why can't we keep James? Give me one good reason. I'm not saying that we can't. I think you're getting it twisted. Keep him. That's fine. I'm not. I wasn't before this news came in. I'm saying sell James. Of course we can keep him. He got an assist at the weekend. He will give us something. I'm not saying that, but I think if Tottenham put in a bid of 20 million for Dan James, which is what he's being touted at, then I think Leeds United may accept it. It's been reported now. There's a little bit more meat on the bones. They're saying, reporting Tottenham are looking to sign Leeds Dan James. They're hoping to seal a £20 million deal with a loan to buy offer being discussed by the North London club. Leeds are said to be more willing to take a payment up front. So Leeds United are having that conversation. That's from the main source. You know? I'm just looking at some of the... Someone's put together some metrics. But this is what I'm saying. And people say he's got output. I'll share this with you now. Just bear with us 1 second. Football is about opinions, though, of course. But if Leeds United are willing to do a deal and Spurs are willing to give us 20 million up front, then I think we'll do it. You can see here, right? Like someone's put, this is clearly a Spurs fan. We're linked with Dan James, who in attacking midfield, forward, and probably even wing-back roles can run very fast, but not play football. Like if you just look at this, like we know that he's defensive stuff. He's off the scale. But like look at the passes into the final third. Carries into the final third. Receives a lot of progressive passes. Pass completion, 65%. Very low percentiles. Very, very low. You know, and this is all stats driven. And again, I'm not a stats man, but these are very, very low. It's just something to consider. And I think people are being very vitriolic in terms of defending of James and saying, why should we sell him? Not a chance I would sell him. You're talking rubbish. But I think if they're willing. But Josh, man, that's not a good comparison, is it? That's not a good comparison. And no disrespect, and people won't like me for saying this, but I would swap Dan James for Rashford or Sancho in a month of Sundays. Rashford reborn or Sancho. Come on, man. Let's not get silly now. Let's not get silly. Do you know what I mean? If your argument, if you believe that Dan James is a better player than Rashford and Sancho, it's not true, man. That's just silly. I think anyway, personally, I think it's very, very, very good money. Very, very good money. Oh, look at that. There you go. Already in profit. I agree with you. I agree with you, bro. But the club ain't in that. The club are in that. The noise coming out was that we need to sell in order to buy. We need to sell in order to buy. People don't want to believe it because for some reason they think Fabrizio Romano chats wet, but he doesn't. If this is bang on, right, it's been reported by reputable journalists that Tottenham are willing to do a deal with a loan to buy option at 20 million, 20 million. We paid 25 million for him. We need to remember, right? I know we've started the season amazingly, but don't let that shroud your judgment. Don't let that shroud your judgment. Because if we'd have started this season poorly, people would be saying 20 million for Dan James. Yes, but this is what I'm saying. Because we started really well, it can shroud people's judgment. It can shroud your judgment. 20 million for Dan James. I will not. And 95% of Leeds fans know that we overpaid for Dan James. We overpaid for him. If you can just make a loss of just 5 million, that ain't bad. And if Leeds United are obviously having a conversation because it's out there that they're saying, no, we want 20 million up front. Stephen asks, will 20 million make us better? Yeah. Yes. There's only one player that cost more than 20 million for us in these summer signings, and that was Brendan Aronson. Everyone else cost less than that. Rafinha cost 17 million. Leeds United know how to pick up gems. They've done it. You don't have to spend over the odds. You do not have to spend over the odds. How much did Emmanuel Dennis go for? Emmanuel Dennis. He didn't go for a lot, right? 13 million. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. Definitely. You know what I mean? Every day of the week. How much is Sarr being touted out for? A lot of yous would go mad for Sarr, right? A lot would go mad for Sarr. Yeah, I like that as well, Villa Martin. I love that. I love that. So, you know, we paid 12, 13, or Nottingham Forest paid 13 million for Sarr. Sorry, for Emmanuel Dennis. So, yes, you can replenish that money easy. Easy. You know? No. Just because I know that they're willing to pay 20 million. Do you know what I mean? So, Philip, it's not though, bro. It's not. What makes you believe that it's not true? Tell me what you have seen from this window that tells you that statement is not true. Please explain it to me. What gives you confidence that that statement's untrue? Because if we'd already have deals done, we wouldn't have had to sell Calvin. We wouldn't have had to sell Rafinha. The club have had to sell to buy this year. You know what I mean? They have had to do that. Because what you've got to remember is as well, they've never sold. We sold Ronaldo Vieira to fund Bamford. Who else have we sold? We haven't sold anyone when we've come into the Premier League, have we? So this season they had to do that. So I disagree. I believe it is true. I believe it is true. Yeah, they do. They definitely have. There you go, Cornet as well. Maxwell Cornet. He was another one, right? This is what I'm saying. There are deals that can be done for 20 million. Maxwell Cornet went to West Ham for 18 million. You know, so yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hear it, bro. I hear it. 20 million, snap your hands off. Yeah, I think there is that. Because I don't think, and I may be wrong, and like people have said, you know, would you have sold Rodrigo at the start of the season? Yes. But now my opinion's changed, and you can change your opinion. For sure you can. But I don't think we would ever be in a situation again where we'll be given 20 million for Dan James. You know, I don't think we'll ever be in a situation where we'd ever be in that situation. What's the lowest? I don't know, really, mate. Super chat. You've super chat me. Let's ask you a question. I don't know, because I probably would have took 15 million previously. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question, mate. I don't know. I don't know. I think there's loads of comments coming in, loads of people getting involved. So big up to all of you for that. Yeah. So where's the money earmarked for CDK? But what you've got to remember, Radrazani said himself that was the cherry on the cake. Yeah, that was the cherry on the cake. That's just not money like that's sitting around that they're just willing to splash out. That was because they knew that if they bought CDK in a couple of seasons' time, they make their money back easy peasy, lemon and squeezy. And this does enter club's thought process. He was worth the outlay. He was worth the outlay. Do you know what I mean? He was worth the outlay because of what he would bring and what he would have given us. That's why. They're not then just saying, right, well, there's 30 million burning a hole in our pocket. Let's just spend it willy-nilly. However, if we get money for a player, then we can talk. Jason says 70% of the world is covered in water. The rest is covered by Tyler Adams. Sell James to get Pulo in. Yeah. N'Golo Yankee. I've just seen another one coming in. Why would we're not saying? What do you mean? I'm not saying we need to sell, but if they're offering 20 million, yeah, then do it. Do you know what I mean? Then have that conversation for me. You know what I mean? I think we'll see. You know, this will split opinion. I can see it in the comments. Stephen, how can you? Why wouldn't it strengthen us? I've given you two players that are better than Dan James and would strengthen us, that have gone for less than 20 million. Every single player that Leeds United have signed has been less than 20 million, bar Aronson. Rafinha cost 17 million. Barry Whitwell. I'm not trying to sell him. This it's funny when they say, why are you trying to sell him for? I'm not trying to sell him. I'm having a conversation about Tottenham potentially buying him and what my opinion on that is. If Dan James stays, I'm totally fine with it. But this is what this is for, right? It's that you come for my opinion and you also get your comments and thoughts read out in the chat. So we'll wait and see. Yeah, I would take 20 million all day, Craig. I think a lot of us would. I think a lot of us would. I know, Brian, right? I know. Dan Savage, right? Okay. Let's bring it to a close soon. Anyway, there's 742 of you in the chat, which is amazing. So thank you so much for that. 356 likes. That's amazing as well. I love that. Thank you for that. And we're now just 22 people away from 15k. Right, okay. So Anthony, are we confident we will buy if we sell James? Yeah, I am. I'm confident we get a striker anyway, just based on what Jesse said before. You know, Jesse said midweek after the press conference that he'd be happy to do. He wants a striker and believes the club will do it. So if people believe I'm talking rubbish, but if we do need to sell to buy in order to buy a striker, and Tottenham are willing to spend 20 million on Dan James, you take him every day. You sell him every day of the week. And Leeds United are obviously having that conversation with Spurs. I'm not the only one who thinks that. I'm quite surprised at how many people are not for it in the chat, if I'm honest. That has surprised me. But that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And that's why it's good to have this conversation. And Paco Mac, I wasn't advocating selling Harrison. I've said that many, many times. I was having a conversation about it. I asked the question, at what stage do the club consider the deal? We're now in a situation where Harrison is non-sellable. Yeah? But I think if the club need to sell in order to buy and Spurs are willing to pay 20 million for Dan James, then you do the deal. Don't watch, Jonathan. If you don't like my opinion and that's what you come for, don't watch. Don't get yourself chewed over it, brother. Don't get yourself chewed over it. You know what I mean? But all I'll say is, all I will say is I told you about Tyler Adams. I told you about Shea Adams. I told you about Conor Gallagher. I've got credit in the bank. I've got credit in the bank. Paul says, Joe, you are missing the point. We don't need to sell. Right, then, okay. I mean, if we don't need to sell, we don't need to sell. I'll repeat myself again. I'm not advocating the sale of Dan James. Right? It's a conversation that we're having. Yeah? It's a conversation that we're having. And Spurs are interested, and Leeds are obviously having a conversation. You know? Leeds United are having the conversation. Exactly, Alex. This is what I'm saying. Be respectful, man. I'm respectful to you. You know? And if you don't like it and it's annoying you, just switch off. You know, I was on Connor's channel before, and there was a guy that clearly didn't like me. And he said, this video has lost credibility because Joe's on it, right? I see the comment, and that's fine. And then he said, so I didn't watch it. I respect that. Because guess what? If I get annoyed at something, I ain't watching it. If I am getting annoyed at something, I don't watch it. So that's all I'm saying, yeah? Do you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So just chill, man. I love you all. I do love you all, though, yeah? So, right, okay, let's draw it to a close, because I'm going to be live again in 20 minutes watching Man United get demolished by Liverpool, yeah? Yeah, thank you, Hannah. I know, man. Thank you, Craig. Exactly. But that's what I mean. I'd rather say, like, don't watch, man. Do you know what I mean? Don't come on calling me names and that, and you'll just get blocked, and then that's pointless anyway. Do you know what I mean? Basically, we're coming on, we're having a conversation because it's out there now that Harrison's had a second bid rejected. Yeah. Harrison's had a second bid rejected. Will they come in for a third? Yeah. Will they come in for a third? I don't think we'll sell. We shouldn't sell. Yeah. So don't sell. Yeah. Now with Dan James, my opinion, I was asking a question like's been said as well. I'm not advocating selling him. I'm not trying to sell him. I'm not on the phone to Paratici and Conte saying he's available for 10 million. I'm not doing any of that. Yeah. I'm saying if they're serious about Dan James, which looks like they are, right, and they're willing to meet Leeds' demands and give you 20 million up front, I asked you the question, would you sell? A lot are saying no. For me, my opinion, yes, I would. For 20 million, I would sell. I would sell. And that's my opinion. Yeah. 20 million. Because I don't ever envisage another scenario where Leeds United will recoup 20 million for Dan James. Yeah. Now, if we sold him, yeah, if we sold him and didn't buy anyone, I'd be raging. I'd be fuming as the next man. Yeah. But if we then went and bought a striker, which is what Leeds United need, for me, a cheap option to get us through to the summer, at which point we then go big on a striker because Bamford ain't going to see it out anymore. The guy's on his last legs. Yeah? The guy's on his last legs. For me, you know my thoughts. You go get Shea Adams. You know, no disrespect those people that are saying James, etc. Shea Adams would cost the same amount we'll bring in for him, and he'll give us more. He'll give us more. He'll give us more output. For sure he will. So is it this Shea Adams thing? Jeez. Mate, did you not see the guy at the weekend? Like, did you not see? Did you not see? Yeah, I agree with you, Craig, man. It's straight meat. you know what I mean? It's straight meet me. Me. You know what I mean? It is. I'm gonna put a poll out though because the thing. I'm gonna ask Dan James now. Trying to think how to word this. What's the best way? Yeah, Christopher, 100%. What's the best way to raise this? Someone says Sarri's overrated, and no to Adams. He's got a poor goal scoring record. He actually hasn't. And Sarr, you would, Shea Adams is a fluke, Joe. I think you'll find. Go watch my Tyler Adams video. That's all I'll say to you. I actually enjoyed myself last night because I read all the comments where people told me I was talking shit. I didn't know what I was talking about. Go sign Mo Kamara. Tyler Adams is dead. He's always injured, etc., etc. I feel like Shea Adams is Conor Gallagher 2.0 because I told that last summer as well and got laughed at. Put some respect on my name, man. It's all jokes, man. It's all jokes. Dan James, no, because if I ask keep or sell, a lot we're going to say keep. We need to have a chat about like the money. Like Dan James, 20 million. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah. Southie, yeah, man. 20 Dan James, 20 million. Yes or no? Ask the community. Vote away, man. Vote away. Vote away. Because it's always the silent majority, yeah. It's always the negative minority are the ones that get heard the most because they want to go. But I know, although I'm seeing a lot of negativity towards my comments and thoughts on Dan James being sold for 20 million, I'm snapping your hands off. I think there'll be a lot that aren't put in the comments that will agree with me, maybe. So let's have a look. Keep voting on that, right? We're going to let that hold till 25 to. Then I'm going to have to jump off because I'm back live again in 10 minutes. Keep them votes coming in, folks. Let's keep them votes coming in. Ghost said, I said no, but I appreciate your opinion and thank you. That's what you're here for, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you so much. That's respect, brother. I love that. Keep the votes coming in. Because I think I would argue a striker's more important to us. With our squad fully fit, Dan James is on the bench. Yeah. And so would the second striker, so maybe I'm talking whack. But the thing is, I'm more concerned about Bamford's injury record as opposed to our wingers. Because Harrison's good, Sinistera's just come in, Rodrigo can play. Anyway, let's just say the three behind the striker. The three behind the striker, you have an abundance of options. If Dan James can be sold, yeah, after they want him on a loan with a view to a permanent, that permanent being 20 million when it's made permanent, but Leeds are saying, no, give us the money up front and we'll talk. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Listen, you've got like a minute left on this vote. Yeah, Hannah, exactly. It wasn't great, man. People forget, though, man. People forget. I wonder if I can bring up the stats from yesterday. Let's have a look. But this is what I'm saying. People, and I'm the same, you know me, right? I am very, very emotional, very, very involved, and I do get ahead of myself. Like someone actually commented on my video, I was agreeing with everything you said until you said Champions League. I'm clearly joking. I'm like, I get giddy, that's all, man. I get giddy. But that's why everyone's up on Dan James at the minute, because we beat Chelsea 3-0. I hear it. I do get it, right? But if we'd have not started right and Tottenham would have put 20 million in for James, be honest with yourself, you'd all be going, sell, man, sell. I want to have a look at Dan James' stats just yesterday. I feel like I'm hammering him, and I shouldn't be. I'm not. It's that accurate passing yesterday, Dan James, 50%. Only 50% of his passes came off. Aerial duels won none. Yeah, possession lost 9 times. I'm going to compare that with Harrison. Yeah, I compare it with Harrison. So he had 24 touches, and I may be wrong. I don't know what's to come here, so I might look like a clown. But 24 touches, 50% accurate passes, 2 key passes, 3 crosses, 1 accurate. Obviously, that coming to a goal. So if we compare that with Jack Harrison, okay, so he only got 52% accurate passes, okay, but his output was double that of James. So he had 27, yeah, crosses 7, long balls 2, which James had none, dribbles attempted 4 out of 4. Dan James, no dribbles attempted. 1 more ground duels. And listen, I know Jack Harrison was a mensch yesterday. He was. But I don't know. Maybe we need a stat to come on and tell us. But the eye test tells you that. Yeah, it's Cartman. Right, okay. Let's get to, clearly joking about the stuff, about the Champions League stuff. But, right. So let's have a look at that poll. Let's end it there. 59% here. I'm not in the minority. That's good to know. 59% of you have said that you would sell him for 20 million. So that's good. Paul said it's not letting me press no. Look, this will rumble on. Obviously, if Spurs continue to push, we'll wait and see. Jack Harrison, no. James, I think it's worthwhile to have a conversation. You're going to get 20 million for a player that you paid 25 million for. I mean, if we recuperated all of it, do it. But we have to replenish that money in a striker for me. I think we're okay in the attacking options behind the striker. Listen, I'm going to be live again in 10 minutes. I didn't envisage this to go on that long, but the chat's been popping. You've also been, all getting involved, which I absolutely love to see. So thank you so much for the support. If you are stuck for something to do, you want to laugh, join me for the Man United versus Liverpool watch along. I'm on 14,979, so we're like 21 people away from 15k subscribers, which is amazing. See you in 10 minutes, folks. If you want to join me for that, enjoy the rest of your evening. And try not to get annoyed at what I say, man. It's not real life, is it? It's on YouTube. We're all good. I love you. It's only an opinion. We don't all have to agree. Just keep it sweet. Love for the love and all that. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at 2:15. Peace out now.